powerful, excited, and gripping from the very first second. This story will pull you into a storm of emotions so intense, you'll feel every heartbeat, every tear, and every decision like it's your own. This is not just a tale, it's a cinematic journey of love, betrayal, emotional scars, and ultimate transformation. Welcome to the haunting and heartbreaking story of Richard Kingsley and his wife. Linda's story that begins with glitz and ends in a silence that screams louder than any words. Richard was the man every man envied and every woman wanted. A billionaire by 35, he was the CEO of a global tech empire, appearing on Forbes covers, speaking at elite summits, and living in a mansion that looked like it was carved out of dreams. But behind all that wealth was a heart that grew colder with every dollar earned. And in that cold palace lived Linda's wife of 8 years. She had met him when he was a nobody, eating noodles on borrowed laptops, chasing investors who never returned his calls. Back then, she loved him for his mind, his ambition, his raw dreams. She cooked for him, helped design his first pitch deck, took extra jobs to pay their rent, and gave him the kind of loyalty that most people only write poems about. But as the years passed and money became their new language, Richard changed. He didn't cheat first, he belittled first. He started with subtle comments like, "Maybe you shouldn't eat that." Or "You could lose a few pounds before the next gala." Then it became worse. "You're not the same woman I married, and no offense, but next to my female staff, you look like their mother." His words became weapons, sharp and deliberate, stabbing at Linda's self-worth with surgical precision. Every insult left a scar. Every look of disgust drained her spirit. Yet, Linda stayed. Not because she was weak, but because she believed that somewhere inside him, the man she once loved still existed. But love doesn't survive on memories. And Richard wasn't just emotionally distant, he was unfaithful. Didn't just cheat once or even twice. He had 5 full-blown affairs, each more reckless than the last. There was Marissa, the 24-year-old model he flew to Dubai under the name of business development. Then came Diane, the lifestyle influencer, who called Linda old-fashioned during a chance encounter. Then Rachel, his secretary, who flirted openly in the office. The fourth was Jade, a flight attendant, who visited when Linda was out of town. And finally, Sasha, his personal trainer's assistant, who would help him stretch after workouts. He made no effort to hide them anymore. He felt untouchable, invincible, like Linda would never leave because she never had. But what Richard didn't know was that Linda was evolving, slowly, quietly, but powerfully. She began journaling. She joined therapy. She connected with an old college friend who had become a women's rights lawyer. She started taking long drives to think. It's one day after Richard shouted at her in front of guests for wearing a dress too tight for her size. She stared at her reflection that night and whispered, "I deserve better." That was the beginning of the end. Over the next few months, Linda built her escape like a military operation. She made copies of every affair photo, saved every hotel receipt, and had her lawyer prepare a flawless divorce settlement. Then, in the most unexpected twist of Al, she didn't even confront him. One evening, dressed in the same black dress he insulted, with calm fire in her eyes, she walked into his office and said, "You need to sign these today. They're for the new property we talked about." Richard, barely lifting his eyes from his phone, signed them with a smirk. That smirk disappeared 3 weeks later when his lawyer called and said, "The divorce is finalized." "What divorce?" Richard asked, stunned. "Your wife filed. Sign the papers. It's done." And just like that, the queen he thought would always wait had vanished from his kingdom. At first, Richard laughed, told himself she'd come back. But days passed, then weeks, then months, and the silence became louder than any argument they ever had. No more morning coffee. No more reminders of doctor appointments. No more folded shirts in the closet. No more love. He began calling her. She never picked up. He sent flowers. They were returned. He asked friends. No one knew where she was, because Linda had not only left, she had transformed. She moved to a new city. She started her own small business, empowering women to heal after toxic marriages. Not for him, but for herself. And for the first time in a decade, she smiled from the inside out. And Richard spiraled. His business began to crash. Investors pulled out after rumors of his affairs surfaced. The women, they disappeared once the money dried up. The media turned on him. His face faded from the magazines. He started drinking more, sleeping less, and talking to shadows. One night, he sat on the edge of his bed, scrolling through Linda's new Instagram post. She was standing at the edge of a mountain, hair in the wind, eyes full of peace. And the caption read, "Sometimes losing everything is the only way to find yourself." He broke down, crying, gasping for breath, whispering, "Linda, please." But she had moved on. No hatred, no revenge, just peace. Because her silence became her loudest scream, her healing became his greatest punishment. And that, my friends, is the story of how a man who had everything lost the only person who ever truly loved him, not because she hated him, but because she finally loved herself more. If this story moved you, if it shook you, healed you, or even made you rethink what love really means, then please smash that like button right now. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Was Linda right for walking away the way she did? Would you have done the same? Subscribe to Tales by Abdul for more powerful, true life stories that'll pierce your heart and stay in your soul. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell, because the next story might just be yours.